it's good to stay informed. So we're going to continue to talk about these issues on the podcast as the year goes on, and as we learn more. We're by no means experts on the issues, but we're trying to inform ourselves as best as possible, and so that's our goal. So.
You're now tuning into the Florida Fishing Podcast and Show with co-hosts Tim Sommer and Ty Nelson.
Cool. What's up, everybody? Ty Nelson here. You are listening to the Florida Fishing Podcast. I'm here with my co-host,
Tim Sommer.
And it's week number 2 in 2019. Once again, Happy New Year to everybody. I'm glad you could be here to join us. If you're listening to this podcast, thank you, because we just realized today this is our 10th episode ever. Congrats, Tim. We made it to number 10.
10 double digits.
It has only taken roughly 730 days
to do 10 episodes.
It's been 2 years since we first launched our first one, roughly.
Yep.
Well, it said at least 2 years. It was probably more like 800 days.
Yep.
800 days.
So we guaranteed, though. We promised 52 episodes this year.
This year, right.
And this is week 2. And this is
Here
our
we
second
are.
episode of the year.
Here we are. I will say,
there
though,
we go.
It's already January 10th, and we just launched our first episode, so we're already technically one episode behind.
So maybe one of these weeks we'll double up.
2 in 1 week?
Maybe.
Man, that's wild.
I don't know.
You're thinking crazy.
Maybe.
You're thinking crazy talk.
Maybe we should.
So, do you have any announcements for us today, Tim, for the people?
Yeah, so we got a few announcements before we get into our first segment. First announcement is that Ty and I were a little delayed on this, but we finished up our annual meetings. And they were fun. We had a good time. I think we knocked them out in one day. Right?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5 days, yeah, which they ended up being good. That's a time that we spend basically reviewing 2018 and forecasting for 2019. And they were productive meetings, and we have a good finger on what we want to do this year.
For sure.
I think
it was less stressful. Less stressful than last year.
Definitely.
Last year we were way more in depth.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was to our benefit. I think that was more of a hindrance than it was a benefit to us.
Yeah, last year we wanted to pretend that we were like a Fortune 500 company or something.
Right,
and,
with 3 employees and an intern at the time.
So this year was much more relaxed, laid back. It was definitely was productive, though, I think.
I agree.
Other one is for 20. I think we mentioned this in the last podcast, but free shipping on all orders over $24.99. Another thing is we added a cap for our for smaller items, just because we realized we weren't making much money on orders over under $24.99, and also giving free shipping with that. Another announcement is our white transfer stickers. They've been out of stock for a few weeks now, and they're back in stock, so you can go on the website, order some transfer stickers.
So you're saying if someone decides they're going to order a hat for $19.99, if they add 2 stickers...
They add
I think 2 stickers.
2 stickers. If they add 2 stickers, that'll pass
$24.99 threshold, and they get free shipping.
So basically, they'll get free shipping. So instead of paying for shipping, pay for stickers.
It's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
It's a good trade-off.
Yeah. And then you get to slap it on your boat or cooler or car or whatever you want to do. Other people's boats, cars, coolers. Mm-hmm. Another one. This is pretty cool. Chasing the Sun is back for their...
Fourth episode. 4th season.
Season 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they just had their first episode last Saturday, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So check it out on Discovery Saturdays at...
I think it's still 8 a.m.
8 a.m. still. Let me confirm that.
All right. That's terrible that we don't even know.
I know. It is
That
terrible.
goes to show. First of all, I don't own cable. I know you don't own cable, so we actually watch the show on YouTube
after it's
on
released,
Facebook after it's released. Yeah. But there's a lot of people out there that do own cable that have more money than we do. And so for you people, you definitely should go to the Discovery Channel Saturday mornings at, we believe, 8 a.m. and watch the show. Justin Leake is a Panama City Beach native and a phenomenal fishing guide and just an awesome dude all around. And he really makes the show entertaining. And then we have Travis Holman, who's probably the exact opposite of Justin Leake, but I really like Travis as well. He's a very good guy, a very good fishing guide down in the Keys, actually. I would say Travis just has a much different personality than Justin. Justin's really relaxed. I think Travis is more like go-getter. Like, he's got a lot of talk.
Yeah.
But he also backs up his talk, too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
They slay.
But it's fun. Between the two of them, there's some competition going on at all times because they're both very accomplished fishermen. Mm-hmm. And it's a really enjoyable show to watch. They talk about Panama City Beach and now the Keys and promote some of the other things to do in those areas. So it's not just fishing. Did we find the time yet?
See, that's the worst part. Well, go to YouTube and look at it. Look up their YouTube channel. Discovery Channel doesn't even
Otherwise,
have the time.
Discovery Channel, 8 a.m. There's
8
a bunch of different fishing shows Saturday mornings. They basically are taking over what ESPN used to have, which was like a Saturday morning fishing.
8 a.m. Eastern time.
Perfect, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings, 8 a.m.
Saturdays, 8 a.m.
Tune
Discovery Channel. Tune in. If you miss it, go to YouTube or Facebook or wherever. You'll be able to find them on there. Sometimes we post the episodes on our blog.
Yeah, I'm going to start posting them on Instagram TV and also on our blog.
So, we'll post them up.
Wow.
If you're not already, subscribe to our email list, and you'll get notifications of different blog posts, and those being one of them. And then finally, Ty, give them a little update on our office.
So, check this out, guys. I'm not going to move the camera. Well, I take that back. I'm definitely going to move the camera today. So I'm going to try and speak louder into the speaker because last week I had my phone microphone recording and this computer microphone. Now we actually have our podcast microphone recording. So I'm talking to this thing. As you can see, we do have our new conference room table. Last week we just had the legs. We had like an outline of where it's going to be. I built this thing with my own two hands. It's wobbly, as you can see.
A little wobbly.
Almost spilled your coffee there. However, it turned out nice. It fits the look of the room, and it's going to do exactly what we need to do for now. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not an accomplished woodworker.
But
I'm a pretty damn good fisherman.
Here's the thing. Your table accomplishes the purpose it was meant to accomplish.
That's it. Balling on a budget. It looks decent, does the job, and it's relatively inexpensive. So I'm going to turn and show, guys, this is exciting. Look at this. We finally have doors on our offices. Look at that. We have doors. I can close the door on Tim when he annoys the crap out of me with all his phone calls.
Which is often.
To his wife talking about his brand new baby. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love to see her in person. I don't love to hear him talk to his wife all day long about their baby.
Don't lie. You love it.
I love Ruth, but anyways, back to the purpose of this podcast this morning. So we had some announcements, but what we wanted to talk about was something that we really have no clue about, and you guys probably don't have much of a clue about either. I have a little bit of a clue now after reading a couple articles and doing some research on it, but recently ASA was announcing, that's the American Sport Fishing Association. They host ICAST, and I'm sure other events throughout the year, but they're the main. I mean, they're the American Sport Fishing Association. Almost every company in America that's in the sport fishing industry is an ASA member. If you're not, you should become one.
It's like the mafia for the sport fishing industry.
In a sense, yeah. They're one of the representatives. There's a lot of different organizations, and they're one of them that has some political power. At least they're working with our politicians. And look at this. They actually got something passed. U.S. House passes the Modern Fish Act. And I don't know if anyone knows what the Modern Fish Act is. I got multiple emails, and I never really received any true information on what the Modern Fish Act was. But I do know Johnny Morris, who's a conservationist and also the founder of Bass Pro Shops, had to say this about the Modern Fish Act. The Modern Fish Act is the most significant update to America's saltwater fishing regulations in more than 40 years, and the recreational fishing community couldn't be more excited. I can say I'm excited just because at the end of the day, our politicians are talking about conservation, which is huge. That hasn't happened in a long time. I feel like usually it's after, a lot of issues that we have, they start to talk about this, and there have been some issues regarding fish populations and fish stocks. That's probably why these kind of got pushed forward, but they are talking about it. They are getting something done, so that's exciting. In addition, this particular article was saying the priorities of the recreational fishing and boating community were identified and presented to the federal policymakers in 2014 by the Commission on Saltwater Recreational Fisheries Management, which is also known as the Morris Deal Commission, which I found interesting. So Johnny Morris is he's the founder of Bass Pro Shops. Deal, who I don't know his full name. Oh, is that my phone going off? Of course. Sorry about that, but Scott Deal is the president of Maverick Boat Group, and so together these guys basically, they both have pretty serious interests in the health of the fishing industry and of our fisheries, and so they're pushing hard to get some regulation going in the United States surrounding our fisheries. So I'm excited that's happening. It's the first time in a really long time that I feel like Congress has really had anything like this presented to them.
And it's interesting too. I was doing some research as well, and it's a unique bill for a few reasons. One, it's in favor of the recreational rather than the commercial. So there's certain things where it was also a good compromise for the commercial fisheries.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly sure about all the details behind that. So if you're a commercial fisherman and you want to chime in and let us know how this affects you, feel free.
Right.
But something else that was unique was that this was a bipartisan act.
Right, it was like 351 out of 360 something.
Yeah.
I guess it would have been House seats.
Yep.
Voted
So
for this.
Everybody agreed on this pretty much. It was pretty much a unanimous decision. Mm-hmm. And then even the main support and push was, I was looking at a list, and there were 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats.
Awesome.
Which is good, and we need to see more of that in not just in the fishing, but it's good to see it in the fishing industry because it's a unique industry because you need conservation, but it also is big business. There's a lot of money, and so you have 2 very important things like meshed together, and it's a weird. So there has you have to work together in order to get things done.
Right. It's very rare that we see both parties working together on something. So, and we heard this said a lot with regarding the red tide and blue green algae issues we've seen, and fixing the Everglades. Basically, all these issues we've had in Southwest Florida, Southeast Florida, and in Florida Bay and the Everglades. We've heard it over and over again. We need. This is a bipartisan issue. This affects both Democrats and Republicans. We all love our state. We love the United States. We love our parks, and we want to be able to enjoy them. And
and hopefully down here, because this happened obviously in the Senate, U.S. government realm. Hopefully, people down here in Florida and our government, local government here in Florida, can take notes of kind of what happened with this bill as well. Because at the end of the day, we need to have both parties working together to accomplish an end goal. It's good.
Yeah, I wanted to, go through a few more of the specifics regarding this Modern Fish Act because once again, I really had no clue what the heck it was. But basically in this article it says the Modern Fish Act will provide more stability and better access for anglers by providing authority and direction to NOAA fisheries to apply additional management tools more appropriate for recreational fishing, many of which are successfully implemented by state fisheries agencies. An example given is extraction rates, fishing mortality targets, harvest control rules, or traditional or cultural practices of native communities. In addition, it says basically they're improving recreational harvest data by collecting our data collection by requiring federal managers to explore other data sources that have tremendous potential to improve the accuracy and timeliness of harvest estimates, such as state-driven programs and electronic reporting through smartphone apps. Requiring the Comptroller General of the United States to conduct a study on the process of mixed-use fishery allocation, meaning commercial and recreational use. That review is by the South Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico Regional Fishery Management Councils, and they're supposed to report their findings to Congress within 1 year of the enactment of the Modern Fish Act. I think this is really going to help us understand the difficult balance between commercial fishing and recreational fishing. Ultimately, we want to have seafood, to be able to serve in our stores. We all enjoy seafood. If we can't go out and catch it ourselves, we should be able to go to Publix or
Right,
a local market and pick up seafood. But on the other hand, we still want to be able to have fish populations for recreational anglers to go out there and catch fish.
Right.
Businesses like our own business thrive off of recreational fishing, not off commercial fishing. And so there's a lot of small businesses and big businesses as well that are reliant on the fisheries. So there are multiple parties involved. And I think this will help better close the gap between commercial fishermen and recreational fishermen.
So before this, was there anything in place for, because this is the Modern Fish Act, so was there this is like modernizing the tools we use to track and breed and
Right. Everything was based off of old data collection.
Okay.
I think that was what the whole problem was.
and that's what
And this is kind of updating that and then
bringing
holding
everything
some different organizations or
Good.
maybe not organizations, but just different, what would it be? Just
gather
different
more
entities
information to,
accountable. You know, at the end of the day, hold them accountable for collecting data and then using that data to then implement some new game plans. But yeah, so I think previously there was the Magnuson Act, and I didn't do a lot of research on that.
a little bit on that. That one thing I went down a rabbit trail. I got on a some commercial fisherman website, and apparently the red snapper, I could be wrong, but according to this article, the red snapper regulations for commercial guys is still being, and this was the compromise or something. It was like the red snapper fishing has to stay under the Magnuson Act, and then basically everything else goes from
The Modern Fish
the
Act.
Modern Fish Act or something along those lines. I don't have it pulled up, but
Yeah,
it had something to do
it
with
was
the red
saying that-
snappers and where you can fish for them. 6 to 9 miles is for recreational guys or something along those lines, but
Right.
that was one of them. Was the Magnuson Act, and this seems like almost like a catch-all act, though. The way that people make it sound is like okay, here's tools to get the data we need in order to do something. Like, are there more laws that are going to follow from this act, or does this just give free rein to these certain organizations to do?
I think there'll be more laws that follow this act. But that's a good question, and I guess we'll continue to see. And hopefully, ASA will continue to keep us updated, and some of these other conservation organizations will help keep us updated, so we can kind of follow this. But I thought it was cool that Trump had to sign this.
I thought it was cool.
And he did, which is one of the few things I think he signed during the session. Oh, there's our 18-minute mark. I'm going to restart our camera here because it only wants to shoot for 20 minutes at a time. We only had 2 minutes left. Boom. We're rolling once again.
Oh, we back.
Wow. Y'all made it for 18 minutes without us talking about something that we don't even understand still to this day. But now, what we do know is that it has to do with data collection, and the Modern Fish Act is going to help these different entities basically regulate our fisheries better.
The overall consensus is positive.
But I will say this article, on that note, is kind of negative. It says Trump took shot at fishery management councils in signing the Modern Fish Act, and I think that had to do with the fact that commercial fishermen in particular have a lot more say than recreational fishermen. Specifically when it comes to fish stocks. I think it's because it's a bigger industry than recreational fishing. Plus, recreational fishing is really spread out, and I think there's more larger businesses that are in the commercial side of things, and so I think they just have more control. And plus, they have more riding on it, I think, and so they seem to always have more seats at these different chairs. And then one other thing I was reading too, which I thought was interesting, and basically it's this guy Peter Shelley, who's senior counsel of the Conservation Law Foundation. He was saying that because previous administrations have often rubber stamped FMC, which I forget what FMC is. FMCs. Fishery Management Council. So because They've rubber stamped the Fisheries Management Council's policy recommendations. The council seem to be acting more as the policy makers than the advisors. And so the whole deal is that these fishery management councils are supposed to be like advisors or advisory to basically these other entities. And at the end of the day, they're basically taking what they're saying and then just creating laws from it rather than using it, I don't know, just to as a guideline.
An actual guideline.
They're just taking exactly what they say and trusting them and then going ahead and implementing laws. And so I don't think that's always necessarily the best case, especially if commercial fishermen and commercial fishing is, the main player in those FMCs. It means recreational fishermen are not being represented well. And so that's an issue for me as a recreational fisherman. I think it's important that we are represented well.
Yeah.
And I would say for the most part here in the state of Florida, I don't feel like we've been represented very well over the last few years. Unfortunately, as we've seen a lot of red tide issues from, Naples all the way up to Panama City this year, and it's been ongoing for years and years and years. A lot of it is due to the amount of nutrients going into our water, going to the Gulf of Mexico, and now even on the Atlantic side, we're starting to see red tide due to these nutrients, which really, I say nutrients, but they're pollutants is what they are. Yeah. You can consider them nutrients when they're on the farm. Once they get into the lakes and into the rivers, they're pollutants. They're causing algae blooms, they're causing red tide blooms, and they're causing the death of a lot of wildlife. And so we do have some partners like Bonefish and Tarpon Trust and also Cabins for Clean Water and CCA Florida who are working to fix some of these issues and to hold these different agricultural companies and hold even our state and the Army Corps of Engineers accountable for their actions, because there's a lot of parties involved in this. Ultimately, it comes down to the management of Lake Okeechobee and really just our water in Florida, which is basically it's controlled by the South Florida Water Management District and the Army Corps of Engineers. They kind of are supposed to be working together on this, and they're pretty much like using Lake Okeechobee as basically the I guess it's the well for all these farms. They're using it to irrigate all of their farms and all their land, all their crops, and then in return they're then taking that water and pumping it back into the lake full of these nutrients or pollutants. And then as we go into rainy season, the lake fills up. They have to drain the lake so the dike doesn't burst on the south end and flowing into all these towns and also primarily farmland. And so they end up dumping out the rivers, and then all those pollutants end up in our backyard, cause these algae blooms, cause the red tide, and
it's a mess.
It is an absolute mess.
It's a mess.
So thankfully there still are fish to be caught in Florida. There's still a lot of great fisheries, and thankfully these organizations are working hard. And even recently we saw Ron DeSantis has pledged, at least from one of our sources.
This is cool. I'll just read it right from the source because that's easiest. Captain Daniel Andrews, he's, I guess, the head of...
founder.
He's the founder. I'm not sure his professional actual role, but founder of Cabins for Clean Water. He just 3 hours ago today, he posted a status on his Facebook page that said, spent this morning with Governor DeSantis on his second full day in office, and excited to announce his budget will have $2.5 billion for Everglades and water quality projects over the next 4 years. My message to him was simple. Keep captains and anglers at the forefront of water discussions. The water is our office, and we understand the problems, solutions, and urgency better than the bureaucrats. So that's for us, that's coming from a very trusted source, and that's good news. Yeah, that's really good news.
Yeah, hopefully DeSantis comes through on his word here and actually gives $2.5 billion back to Everglades restoration over the next 4 years, because I would love to see some of these projects enacted. I'd love to see some more filtration and also storage for water in Lake Okeechobee, so we don't see as much fresh water flow going into the Caloosahatchee River and going into the St. Lucie River during the summer months. And even in past years, in recent years, we've seen it more in the spring and more in the winter than ever before. And we had a very wet winter so far this year, so it's likely that we're going to see more water being dumped into these rivers, and likely more red tide and blue-green algae here this summer. So it's not going to slow down anytime soon unless we start acting on this. So
Right.
it's good to hear. And I think he understands, Ron DeSantis understands the urgency. I think most
I
people
think that's
have
one of
seen
the
it
reasons
firsthand.
why he got into office, too. I think that's one of the reasons why he got voted into office. I think there were a lot of people voting based on this issue now. I mean, it's a national issue, especially during the, and actually we, as bad as the blue-green algae and red tide and all that was this year, it was worst we've seen it really ever. And it all happened at a very good time. In all reality, it happened during election cycle, so it was on a national scale as far as the media and news talking about these issues. And I mean, it's good. I'm looking forward to continue to see what DeSantis does. Hopefully, he continues to live up to his word. So far, he has been, and that's been encouraging. Another thing I'm interested to see him do is what is he going to do with the South Florida Water Management District?
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Because that's been shaken up.
Oh yeah,
that's
that
been really
board
shaken
is
up.
just, in my opinion, bad news.
Yep.
It's all bad news. The folks that are on it need to go. They're appointed by Governor Rick Scott. They have really just done a very poor job of managing Florida's water. And so my hope is that he will. I think he will. Be
Get some good guys in there.
And people in.
So we'll see. Just keep an eye out for the news because things are starting on the news because things around this issue obviously have been a hot topic for years now, but are starting to develop and things are starting to happen. Things are looking good. There's still a ton of work, obviously, but it's good to see Captains for Clean Water started something and they've been working their tails off and a single focused issue and we're starting to see momentum. A lot of momentum, gain traction, political pull, whatever it is. We're seeing something happen and it's good to see down here in Florida.
For sure, it's something that I believe any angler can get behind, especially saltwater anglers in Florida. And then those outside of Florida too, all across the United States. Florida's looked to as the fishing capital of the world because we have such unique fisheries and so many opportunities to catch different game fish here. And so it's really important that we do protect our estuaries. And I think anyone in the United States that likes to fish, that ever wants to come down here to fish, they should be supporting these efforts. And so if you haven't, check out captainsforcleanwater.org.
Become a member, buy some hats, all that good
There's
stuff.
a lot of other good resources too, but we know Daniel Andrews and Chris Whitman, the founders, well, and so we generally turn towards them first and foremost. But if you just Google Everglades restoration, there are a lot of different projects out there, a lot of different organizations talking about it. It's good to stay informed. So we're going to continue to talk about these issues on the podcast as the year goes on, as we learn more. We're by no means experts on the issues, but we're trying to inform ourselves as best as possible, and so that's our goal, is to help inform you guys as well, and hopefully take some of these ideas and put them into layman's terms because we're.
We don't know anything. Because we don't know much at all. But we're willing to learn and willing to figure it out with you guys. And let you guys know what we think of certain issues and inform you to the best of our ability. So
this podcast was a little boring, more boring than I was expecting. Although then again, we were talking about the Modern Fish Act, so
I mean, how
politics. It's not the most exciting. Can't ruffle feathers though, but I don't think we did in this case. But anyways, hopefully next week we'll have something more exciting for you guys. If you have enjoyed the show so far and you've watched all 10 of our episodes, be sure... Congrats for one, and thank you. And if you can subscribe, if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to our podcast and share it with some friends. Let them know what we're doing here. This is just an opportunity for us to kind of show a little more of the background of our business and talk about some of the things that are upcoming in our business, and also just talk about different issues that we're seeing here in the industry. So definitely stay tuned, share the word, and you can always find us at floridafishingproducts.com, on our Facebook page, Florida Fishing Products, on Instagram at Florida_fishing_products, and apparently on SoundCloud and iTunes.
SoundCloud's just a host, so you could do iTunes. Stitcher. any other Spotify. We're on Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
So we're on these different
Florida
platforms.
Fishing
Subscribe
Podcast.
to whatever channel you listen to your podcasts. Visit our website, floridafishingproducts.com. Purchase a reel, a hat, whatever, whatever. And kind of support what we're doing here.
Yeah, Baby Ruth is growing.
Baby Ruth.
She's 20 percentile for height and 80 percentile for weight, we found out.
She's short and chubby.
That's good. She's gaining weight.
That's good.
She's gaining weight, so she's going to need some new clothes here shortly.
Yeah.
So be sure to check out the website and pick up a reel for Baby Ruthie.
Oh,
I was
man.
kidding. Y'all have a good one.
Over and
I'm
out.
out.